Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So, is Liz Truss's new foreign-funded YouTube channel going to be another dangerous propaganda platform trying to bring Britain down, or will her own natural ineptitude sink the project? So, since earning the title of Britain's shortest-serving Prime Minister, smashing the previous record impressively, Liz Truss has been funded to push far-right talking points ever since. But she hasn't really gained much traction, given that she is comically hapless and the British public aren't interested in listening to someone who almost caused a run on the pound and whose damage to their pension funds was never recovered. But she has a new YouTube channel and it's been backed by big names and big money within the MAGA movement in America. Is this a more dangerous prospect than her previous work, or will her natural clownishness sink it? So you might think that after being blamed for crashing the economy, tanking the pound, lasting just 49 days in office, a politician might quietly exit the stage. I know I'd be so embarrassed you'd probably never hear from me again. But not Liz Truss. Instead, she's decided the problem wasn't her policies. The problem was the deep state. In her own words, the deep state and their allies in the media and politics tried to destroy me because I challenged their decades-long failure. Now I'm back. Mind you, I say her words. Funny how they're exactly the same words that MAGA have been using for years, right? She's now launched a weekly show, released across YouTube and apparently Rumble. Not just a British politician having a grumble. Plenty of that. This is a deliberate transatlantic attempt to build a media bridgehead for American-style hard-right politics in Britain. And we need to talk about who's helping her build it. So what is this Liz Truss show? Well, billed as a programme for unapologetic debate against timid consensus, in reality there's no debate on it. Its real purpose is providing a platform for a very specific ideology. The themes are checklists of the modern far right's greatest hits, attacks on eco-zealots, laments about mass migration, dire warnings about the deep state, all supposedly running everything. But the most crucial detail isn't just what she's saying, but who she's saying it with. The show is produced in partnership with John Solomon's Just the News Network. Now, Solomon is what you would diplomatically call a controversial figure in US media. It's another way of saying batshit crazy. He's been accused of promoting conspiracy theories, and he played a key role in the Trump-Ukraine disinformation campaign that, led actually to the president's first impeachment during his first term. His own former employers, The Hill and Fox News, have distanced themselves from his work on the topic. I mean, how extreme do you have to be for Fox News to want to distance themselves from you? And this is the partnership that matters. It plugs Liz Truss directly into a well-oiled, established American right-wing media machine. Her show is promoted on their platform. She, in turn, gives them a former prime minister to validate their worldview. As she herself said, the goal is to look at the Trump revolution and see how this can be achieved in Britain. It's not a new phenomenon, of course. For years, wealthy US donors have funded right-wing groups in the UK. But what makes the Truss project different is the directness. It's not trying to subtly influence policy papers like the IEA. It's a blatant attempt to replicate the MAGA media model itself, creating a pipeline for American culture war grievances to flow directly into British political discourse. However, this American connection could be a weakness. As someone who has tried to attract a particular type of audience myself on YouTube, that is one of people who want to understand what's behind the politics and are influential on the electoral process, I get that not all views are equal. Truss is validating the views of Bannon and Solomon and other magaloons who will no doubt appear on her shows as well, by being a former head of state. But what do they give her, other than funding, of course? Are the views on her channel predominantly from the US or the UK? Now, I can't tell. Only they will know from their own analytics. But that's crucial. Even if the channel looks like it does really well after a few months, we won't really know if it's doing well with a British audience, which is what will matter. But what if it does? And why should we be genuinely concerned? Well, because this is a core strategy of the modern global right. Find a discredited or sidelined politician, give them a platform, use their former status to inject radical ideas into the mainstream. If Truss gains traction on her channel, regardless of whether those views are from the US or the UK, which we won't know externally, mainstream media outlets in Britain could start discussing it in their own articles, and then the whole thing gets amplified to what will certainly be a British audience. The playbook starts, of course, we've seen it before, create a narrative of victimhood. All these wealthy elites, oh, we're victims really. Truss claims she was deposed by the deep state. No, she was tapped on the shoulder by her own MPs and told to get gone because you were going to cost them the next election. She insists that the market crisis that ended her premiership was not her fault. Classic stuff, positioning her not as a failed leader, but as a martyr, silenced for speaking truth to power. The irony, of course, is that she's complaining about being silenced on her very own media show, promoted across multiple international platforms. Next, you import the language and the enemies, phrases like deep state, fake news BBC, attacks on transgender ideologues, lifted directly from the American right-wing lexicon. The goal is to reframe UK problems through a MAGA lens. Suddenly, the issue isn't just economic policy or public service funding. It's a battle against a cabal of globalist elites, which is actually who's funding her, and eco-zealots, of course, who are certainly not funding her. And they try and claim these are actually trying to destroy the country. Elevates mundane political disagreements into existential threats to your society. Finally, you create your own media reality. The purpose of a show like this isn't to persuade opponents, it's to build an echo chamber for the base. She talks about debate, but the guests so far have been commentators who agree with everything she says. Of course they do, because in reality, she is the one using their script. It creates a feedback loop of grievance and self-justification. There is no debate on her channel. I'm going to bet there is never going to be a debate on her channel. She's only going to have people on who agree with her. It's a rally. The aim is to convince a niche audience that their most extreme views are not only correct, but are shared by people who once held the highest office in the land. It serves to legitimise fringe ideas and harden the radical flanks of politics, making compromise impossible. That's the danger. Not that Liz Truss will convince the nation overnight, but that her project serves as a node connecting US media platforms with UK activists and politicians, helping to normalise radical narratives and pull the entire political debate further to the far right's way of thinking. But of course, then there's the other side of the coin. For all the talk of a dangerous MAGA plot, significant reasons to believe this venture could be nothing more than a flop. The biggest obstacle is Liz Truss herself. I've said it for a while now. Why are they backing her? She's useless. In the UK, she isn't seen as a revered truth teller. For most people, she's the Prime Minister who was outlasted by a lettuce. Her 49-day premiership is remembered for a mini budget that scared the shit out of the financial markets and sent mortgage rates soaring. Her unpopularity is staggering, still now. That's not a foundation from which you launch a credible counter-revolution. Then there's the execution. So I saw a few reviews of the Liz Truss show. They were fairly brutal. Critics mocked its amateurish production, described it as a film in a makeshift studio, resembled a cupboard. The show's launch itself was a farce. She was an hour late. How do you allow an hour late for a live stream? It led to jokes that she'd the same grasp on YouTube's upload procedure as she did on the British economy. We could sort of imagine her there for an hour going, which button is it? Which is it? No, it can't be the go live button. That'd be silly. It must be another one. It was like that time she made a speech and then tried to leave, but she got stuck because she couldn't work out where the door out of the room was. Furthermore, the MAGA playbook is not a perfect fit for the UK. British politics has its own dynamics and cultural sensitivities. While there is an audience for right-wing populism, that space is already fiercely contested by more established figures like Nigel Farage and Reform UK. Truss isn't entering an open field. She's a latecomer with a severely damaged brand, trying to elbow her way into a crowded market. This isn't a Trump-style revolution. It's more like what some have called audio-visual cover letter addressed to Donald Trump. Please make me relevant. I need money. It's a desperate audition for relevance on the American right-wing circuit. So is Liz Truss's new show a dangerous MAGA plot or a doomed vanity project? Hard to say right now. Could be a bit of both. The danger is real. The show is a clear and deliberate attempt to build a permanent channel for American far-right ideology to influence British politics. Backed by established MAGA-aligned media players, it is going to legitimise conspiratorial narratives like the deep state and provides a platform for voices that seek to polarise and divide. We should be very clear about what this strategic alignment is and call it out for what it is, an influence operation hiding in plain sight. But its potential for actual political impact in the UK is limited by its messenger. Liz Truss's catastrophic premiership and profound lack of public credibility act as a natural firebreak. The amateurish production, cringeworthy delivery, make it more of a target for mockery at the moment than a tool of mass persuasion. For now, it seems less like the home of a counter-revolution, more like what one person called a coping mechanism for a politician defined by public humiliation. The ultimate trajectory of this project remains to be seen. Will it fizzle out into obscurity, or will it, with time and professionalisation, become a more potent force? After all, we have to remember the early days of GB News were just as embarrassing. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Please subscribe to the channel for more content. Click the bell notification icon so you know when new videos are coming out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.